Hello again, and thank you for joining us for today's show. First graphic up, we've got hazardous weather graphic. Winter weather advisory out for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait coast through this evening until I think 10 or 11 p.m. for gusty north winds, snow and blowing snow to continue there for this evening. Otherwise, from there, we go to the breakup map and starting to show signs that breakup is beginning to come alive. As you can see, some open areas on the Tanana River and also the Nenana River there out toward Nenana, as you can see, and right where the tripod is. Also to the South Copper River showing some open areas. Susitna and Little Sioux also showing a little bit of open areas. Pretty solid there for the Kuskokwim, and much of the Yukon River is pretty solid still, even toward Eagle and into Canada. And then some open areas on the far lower reaches there into the Yukon. But as far as the west and north, still solid ice for those rivers, but starting to show signs of breakup starting to kick in. And from there, we'll go see, this is the tripod at Nenana, just minutes old, still standing. And I believe it fell on May 2nd last year, so it probably will exceed that date, maybe, unless it falls here before midnight. But anyway, still on, starting to show some pooling of the ice, some water on top of the ice, but still pretty thick underneath it. And from there, satellite imagery showing front pushing rain into the panhandle today, cold front there pushing eastward and also sliding northward. And another band of shower activity coming in from the Kuskokwim Valley, extending down across Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula. Some clouds up over the southeast interior, spreading up into the Northway area. Also some clearing over the western Copper River Basin, Prince William Sound, up into the interior. Some areas of clearing, some areas of clouds, with some areas of showers as well. And then another system pushing rain, as you can see, moving eastward there on the jet stream into the eastern Aleutians, pushing some rain about to move into the Alaska Peninsula. With a lot of clouds and showers across much of the Bering Sea, or at least clouds and showers across the Aleutians, and the Bering pretty cloudy there. A little narrow break, looks like it's trying to push down to the Pribilof Island areas. And then you can see the clouds with a weak low up there. Enough gradient, though, to kick the winds up around St. Lawrence Island for that winter weather advisory until 10 p.m. this evening. And rolling that through again, we'll just jump right to the weather today. Low pressure there, right off the Yukon Delta coast, east of St. Lawrence Island. Again, that's circulating that snow condition and breezy winds there from the Bering Strait down to the island there, and then kind of westerlies, bringing some showers into the western interior with clouds, and then that trough across Cook Inlet with a few showers with that up into the Kuskokwim Valley. Rain over the panhandle today with that front moving eastward there, pushing eastward. Otherwise, scattered areas of sun with scattered areas of snow showers, depending on your elevation and time of day, over the mountainous terrain of the eastern and southeast interior. Scattered snow showers up along the Brooks Range, maybe a few flurries along the Arctic coast. Then that rain pushing into the eastern Aleutians. For tonight, rain continues. Probably will slide into the Alaska Peninsula as well. That'll be followed by showers over the Aleutians, extending all the way back to Shimianatu. Looks like some snow showers possible for the Pribilof Islands. Isolated snow showers, Kodiak Island. Same thing for the Kenai Peninsula over the mountainous terrain. Look for some scattered showers on up into maybe the Chugach again, and mountainous areas of the Copper River Basin, Alaska Range. A little more widespread out over the western interior. A couple of weak troughs, one across the northern Seward Peninsula into the southern Kobuk Valley, and look for chance of showers in the Noatak Valley, the northwest coast, and maybe a few flurries of some areas of fog along the Arctic coast. And then rain changing to showers over the panhandle, starting to taper off. For tomorrow, though, that front off the coast for tonight's map moves in and dissipates, so that'll keep it showery, especially over the northern areas. At least there'll be a few showers around with mostly cloudy skies. Could see a few sun breaks down to the south. Otherwise, chance of moisture for the North Gulf Coast, nothing heavy. Cloudy skies, still cool with scattered showers across all of southern Alaska, even out to the southwest coast. A couple of low centers keep it cloudy, damp, and unsettled for the Alaska Peninsula. Periods of rain for Kodiak Island, and showers for the Aleutians, tapering off out to the west. Still look for some snow flurry chances, light snow for the St. Lawrence Island area, Seward Peninsula, northwest coast, and the Arctic coast, and a chance of snow showers in the Brooks Range for Wednesday. Thursday, shaping up like this, pretty dry over the eastern interior, just a risk of a shower or two over the Alaska Range, and chance of showers again, mountainous terrain of south central Alaska, western Alaska Range, maybe a little more widespread over the southwest interior from Bristol Bay northward along that trough, right on up to the western Arctic coast across the Kobuk-Selawik Valley areas, and chance of snow showers the Seward Peninsula and along the eastern Brooks Range, but look for partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies, central eastern interior, right on down to the North Gulf Coast. Could see some sunshine at times on the day. Thursday, Panhandle, though, looks pretty good with mostly sunny skies, light winds, high pressure out over the Bering Sea there, keeping it dry with light winds across the entire area out there. A weak trough down to the south on the south side of that high center may bring a few scattered showers into Adak and Atka, but look for partly sunny skies, light winds, Shimiatu, Amchitka, Kiska, even over toward Unuak Island. Maybe a shower, maybe not for Unalaska Island. Partly sunny skies, call it there. Then a better chance of showers for the Alaska Peninsula, especially on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula there with that light northwest flow. So that would make the Pacific side not too bad. Maybe some sunshine and dry conditions. Periods of rain continue or drizzle, be light for Kodiak Island with that low just south of Sitkinak and pretty an easterly flow, especially on the east side of the island and Fognak Island areas. For the lows tonight, around 40 for the Panhandle, 20s for the Copper River Basin, Kuskokwim Valley, and near 30 for Bristol Bay. 30 to 35 for the lows for south central Alaska to Kodiak Island, and the highs tomorrow in the mid-40s. South central Alaska, Copper River Basin, 42, Valdez, Seward, and Middleton Island. Near 40 for the Bristol Bay area, and into the mid-40s for the Kuskokwim Valley. Highs 50 to 55 for the southeast coast. That'll be followed by lows near 40 again for the Panhandle. Some areas a little cooler. Upper 20s for the Copper River Basin, 28 to 32 for the Kuskokwim Valley, lower 30s Bristol Bay, upper 30s Kodiak Island, 30 to 35 south central Alaska, and then the highs upper 40s to mid-50s, we'll call it, for the Susitna Valley, inland areas of the Kenai Peninsula, cooler out toward the water, and lower to mid-50s Copper River Basin, and near 50 for the Kuskokwim Valley area, 50 to 55 for the southeast coast, 40 to 45 for Bristol Bay and Kodiak Island. Up to the north, lows tonight in the 30s, central interior, 20s for the Brooks Range, teens to lower 20s for the Arctic coast, as well as the Seward Peninsula to St. Lawrence Island. And then the highs tomorrow, 50 to 55, upper Yukon Valley, southeastward toward Eagle, and upper 40s to lower 50s for the Fairbanks area over toward Tok and Northway, cooling off to the 20s for the northern Seward Peninsula and St. Lawrence Island, 20s for the Arctic coast for the highs. And then the lows, mostly below freezing or in the 20s, a little cooler, under 20 there for the Brooks Range, 15 to 20 for the Arctic coast, followed by highs about the same, 40s to lower 50s, 20s for the Arctic coast, out to the southwest lows tonight, 20s for the Pribilofs, 30s for the Aleutians. Highs tomorrow, 30 for the Pribilofs, lower 40s, maybe mid-40s for Unalaska, 39 for Adak, and near 40 for the Alaska Peninsula, mid-20s for the lows Thursday morning for the Bering Sea, lower 30s for the Aleutians, followed by highs near 40 for the Alaska Peninsula, upper 30s to lower 40s for the Aleutians, mid-30s for the Pribilof Islands.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather Wednesday morning, IFR, eastern Bering Sea, as far west as the Pribilofs, with marginal VFR for the Aleutians. IFR for the Alaska Peninsula along the southwest coast, up to the Seward Peninsula and into Norton Sound and toward Kotzebue through the Bering Strait, and a lot of IFR covering the Brooks Range on out across the north slope to the Arctic coast. VFR holding over the eastern interior, and marginal VFR along and south of the Alaska Range, all the way down to the North Gulf Coast, the Panhandle, with some IFR over toward the eastern Panhandle. And for the afternoon, That all burns off, and the southeast coast becomes VFR, but the North Gulf Coast stays marginal into Prince William Sound, pretty marginal across southern Alaska. No change, VFR holding over the eastern interior north of the Alaska Range, now actually VFR into the northern Kuskokwim Valley. IFR, northern Koyukuk, Kobuk Valley areas, VFR for the North Slope, and marginal for the Arctic coast. Out west, marginal VFR for the Bering Sea, Aleutians, some IFR across the Alaska Peninsula, and then moving on to, Thursday morning, IFR right in over Bristol Bay, extending up across Dillingham into the central Kuskokwim Valley or so, southern valley, and IFR for the Arctic coast, North Slope, and along the southern slopes of the Brooks Range. Marginal VFR, Bering Sea, all of the Aleutians, Kodiak Island, on up across the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. VFR for the southeast coast. Good VFR for the Panhandle on Thursday afternoon, right up, including Yakutat, until you get to Cape St. Elias. From there westward, marginal VFR into Prince William Sound. Most of the Seward Peninsula into Turnagain Arm and up to the Talkeetnas. And western Cook Inlet, marginal. West Coast and interior, marginal VFR, with some areas of VFR thrown in, especially on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula. Heading Kotzebue Sound, marginal VFR, southern slopes of the Brooks Range. VFR for the central eastern North Slope, eastern Arctic coastal areas. And mostly marginal again for the Aleutians and the Bering Sea. For Anatuvik tomorrow, looks like occasional IFR for that pass, occasional marginal VFR for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill, mostly marginal at times for the day on Wednesday. Rainy, starting out IFR, becoming marginal VFR. And for Windy, marginal VFR at times. Isabel, marginal VFR, trending toward VFR conditions. And Montesta will be VFR the entire day on Wednesday. Tanita, occasionally marginal for that pass, especially on the eastern entrance. In Portage, marginal VFR, lowest conditions eastern entrance or the Whittier side. And for Chilkoot and White, VFR. Looking at the freezing levels, all the warm air in over western Canada, and still looking at 2,000 to 6,000 feet, even maybe 8,000 feet over the central and southern southeast coast. 2,000 feet, not quite making it up to Unalaska Island, but narrow band of 2,000-foot freezing levels in over the central interior, all the way to Selawik. And for the icing, look for some isolated, moderate icing, northern Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast areas on up into the Susitna Valley to the Alaska Range, and also another area of possible moderate rime icing moving into Kodiak. It'd be isolated moderate rime icing, mostly a light stuff, into Kodiak Island, across the Alaska Peninsula, and the eastern Aleutian areas, maybe even the southeast Bering Sea, but not up to the Pribilofs. And the jet stream, westerlies 120 knots, but that's south of the Aleutians, but takes a turn to the north there at about 90 to 95 knots right across the central panhandle areas. And at 9,000 feet, south winds 35 to 45 knots near Kodiak Island, right up into the central interior areas. Lighter elsewhere, pretty light for the panhandle, Bering Sea, and the Chukchi Sea. And for 3,000 feet, light winds, panhandle, interior Alaska, but picking up 40 to 50 knots there, blowing across southern Kodiak Island, northwest 35 just south of the eastern Aleutian areas there, and moving on to turbulence. Nothing too significant, maybe some isolated moderate turbulence possible, Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula, southern Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, as well as from Atka eastward to Unalaska Island. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Hi, this is Ken Graham, Director of the National Weather Service. We are here in Anchorage talking to everybody here today. What a great day it has been, learning about how forecasting is challenging. You got terrain, you got water, you got all sorts of challenges here in Alaska when it comes to forecasting. But I discovered something I got to share with everybody right here. We have an ice desk. We have an ice desk. We're going to talk about that here. Introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing here. I mean, ice desk. Let's talk about it.
So I'm Mary Beth Schreck. I'm the CIA's Program program leader, and we analyze satellite imagery all day, make charts of where the ocean has frozen, where that ice is, and forecast where it's going to go.
Yeah, just to capture some of this stuff, it's absolutely amazing. Well, you're looking at ice, where it's going to go. Why? I mean, what is the impact? I mean, who's out there looking at all this?
So we've got mariners who are out who want to generally avoid the ice, other than maybe research vessels or Coast Guard, places like that. But there are also a lot of people who live along the coastal areas who are traveling along that ice. They're hunting, subsistence hunting along that ice. And so they're really interested in learning, how thick is it? How stable is it? Is that ice that's attached to the land, is it going to break off and move away while they're on it? Or is it, is the ice going to be thick enough to support them, their snow machines, snowmobiles, that kind of thing?
So, I mean, it's a lot. It could be, look, they're depending on it for life, but at the same time, it could be life-threatening.
Exactly.
Type of thing. That's amazing. And the real quick, show us some ice. Justin, come in here. Show us some ice on the screen.
Yeah, so this is an infrared image, so it's showing the temperature of the ice. So some of these areas are thicker ice around here, but then you see some of the darker areas, and that's where some thinner ice. So the ice actually moved away from the coast, and then it refroze in there. So that's a lot thinner.
It's amazing. So I just appreciate what you do. It's just something that the employees of the Weather Service need to see. I mean, it's just important work here. And those behind me are not going to escape this video. So you're going to come over here. You can be back here, behind here. So just both of you, introduce yourselves to the rest of the Weather Service here.
Michael Lawson, sea ice meteorologist.
Kayla Tinker, sea ice analyst.
So what's the most challenging thing? Each of you, what's the most challenging thing about your job?
Lack of data.
Lack of data. Okay.
That's a hard question. Yeah, I guess, some days when we don't have data.
So it's challenging. You're trying to do something really tough without the information that you need. That's not easy.
Clouds. Clouds are the biggest challenge.
Blocks being able to see the ice, right? Yeah. That's a big challenge, something we don't always think about. So think about the variety of things that we do in the National Weather Service. This is just ice desk. I just can't stop saying it. It's just amazing what y'all do. I thank you for what y'all do. And one by one, what makes you so passionate about what you do? What brings you to work every day?
The people.
The people.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, supporting the people that are living out there and interacting with the ice and knowing that we're making a difference in their lives.
Amazing amount of work. So there you have it, folks. I just wanted to, it was just interesting to be able to learn this. Ice desk. I'm going to keep saying it all day. Ice desk. So appreciate what you all do. It's a big mission, an important mission for the National Weather Service. I want to share that with everybody. This has been Ken Graham. I'm here at the Anchorage Weather Forecast Office, and it's been an interesting day.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Marine forecast beginning along the southeast coast. On the south coast, west to northwesterlies 15 to 20 knots. On the north coast, south to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots. Lynn Canal, south winds at 20. Stevens Passage, winds mostly southeast at 15. For Clarence Strait, northwest 15 with seas at around 6 feet. And for the day on Thursday, south coast, northwest to west, 15 knots. And for the north coast, east-southeast, 15 to 20 knots, seas at about 6 feet. And Lynn Canal, north at 10, light breezes for Stevens Passage from the northwest at 10. Same thing for Clarence Strait, northwest winds 10 knots, seas 2 feet. Prince William Sound, southeast winds 15 knots with 3-foot seas. And for the eastern North Gulf Coast, south to southeast winds 15 knots with 5 to 6 foot seas, and variable winds at 10 knots for the western North Gulf Coast. Barren Island, southeast at 20, variable winds 20 knots for Kadmashak Bay, and south to southwest winds 15 to 20 knots for Cook Inlet, with seas running generally around 4 feet. And for Thursday, winds become northeast in Cook Inlet at 15 to 20 knots, 3 to 5 foot seas. Small craft advisories for the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay, looking at east winds 25 to 30 knots. East 20 to 30 knots for the North Gulf Coast with seas 7 to 9 feet. Prince William Sound, east wind 20 knots, seas 3 feet. And for Kodiak Island, south to east winds 20 to 25 knots for the day on Wednesday with 4 to 6 foot seas. Otherwise, the Alaska Peninsula, east-southeast wind 15 to 20 knots, southeast at 20 for Bristol Bay. And for Thursday, Kodiak, Shelikof Strait, northeast at 20, east side of Kodiak, east at 20. And for the Alaska Peninsula, a pretty uniform wind pattern with northwest winds blowing across the peninsula at 20 knots with 4 to 6 foot seas. And make it west at 20 for Bristol Bay, seas at about 4 feet. For the eastern Aleutians, west-southwest, 25 knots for Wednesday with 7 to 9 foot seas. Adak and Atka, about the same out of the west at 25. And for the western Aleutians, a little more variable out there at around 15 to 25 knots, basically from a western-northwesterly direction. Seas running 7 to 11 feet. And for the day on Thursday, western Aleutians, southeast winds 20 knots, seas 5 to 6 feet. Light variable winds for the central Aleutians at 10 or 10 to 15 knots. And for the eastern Aleutians, northwesterlies 20 knots, seas at 7 feet. For St. Matthew Island on Wednesday, variable winds 10 knots, seas 5 feet. And for the Pribilofs, northeast at 20, south at 15 for the Kuskokwim Delta coastline, west at 10 for the Yukon Delta coast, south 15 for St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, with seas and ice-free waters maybe 3 feet. And then on Thursday, variable to northeast breeze at 10 knots for Norton Sound. St. Lawrence Island, west at 15, and the Yukon Delta coast, northwest at 20. While the Kuskokwim Delta coast, we'll be looking at north winds at 20 knots, northwest 15 for the Pribilofs, and southwest 15 for St. Matthew Island. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast for Wednesday, west winds 10 to 20 knots. And east-northeasterlies for the western Arctic coast, pretty light at 10 knots. The Chukchi Sea, north winds 20 knots. Then for Thursday, variable winds at 10 knots for the Chukchi Sea, western Arctic coast, southwest at 10, central coast, call it east at 10, and then south to southwest breeze at 5 to 10 knots for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. For tonight, look for some flurries possible along the Arctic coast. Nothing significant. Could be some fog thrown in there as well. Otherwise, over the interior, scattered snow showers, and mainly over the mountainous terrain in the central and eastern part of the state, as well as the Copper River Basin, Alaska Range, Talkeetnas, and the Kenai Peninsula. Showers on the decrease for the Panhandle, and rain pushes into the eastern Aleutians with showers for Adak, Atka, back out to Shimei and Attu. Chance of showers for the Pribilof Islands. And for the day on Wednesday, Rain or snow showers over the western and southwest interior, and chance of snow showers for the Brooks Range. Maybe a few flurries to the Arctic coast and North Slope. Generally dry for the southern panhandle, chance of showers to the north, and cloudy skies with a chance of moisture for south.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.